run with tonight, but I wanted to just kind of turn something over to Les here. Les, you're sitting by the phone. It rings. Dixie Carter's on the other line. Says, "Come on down. I'll pay you a boatload." What do you do?
Wow, you start over, I guess. You know, I think I think the brand is so tarnished in terms of fans and the industry itself. I don't know what you can do, honestly. First of all, Paul Heyman made a statement. You can have, you know, if you have 20 icons or 20 legends or whatever the hell you want to call them, you know, you can't, you know, you've just got a crowd. And his point is, and like I said too, if you're trying to find a number one contender, you don't have a battle royal. You don't put a five-way to get a number one contender. If you're looking for a number one contender, you put two guys in the ring, you spotlight them, and one of them comes out as the top guy, and that, you know, and if the match is put together properly, your announcers are doing things properly, then you've isolated this guy and made him, you know, or started to on the path to make him what you're trying to make him in terms of the eyes of those watching, whether it's in the building or at home. And I think Heyman's point was that you can't have Hogan and Flair and, you know, Sting, and you've got to have which one of these guys is going to do you the most good, you know. And if you could probably take Hogan's phone away, he might do you some good. You know, Bischoff's son is not. I mean, the whole thing there is just it becomes such a farce. You've almost got to clean house. You've got to back things off, and you're going to have. And you know, I'd have to say to her or to her brothers or whoever, you know, the people that pull the purse strings, basically what George Scott said, you know, back in the early '70s to Jimmy Crockett Jr. and to Francis and Jackie and David. You know, I'm going to basically kill this thing and have build this over because he was going to take it out of the hands of the tag teams and turn it into a single promotion. And I was there when that happened, and it did. I mean, business fell off. If their business, I don't know how much far their business can fall, quite frankly. But but that's the whole thing. To rebuild it, you know, you've got to back off. You can't continue to do what you're doing and make changes, you know, and so that would be part of it. I think you know, there are guys there who are good people, who are good, solid workers, who want to make a difference, but they're damaged goods, you know, and you've got to decide. And just ask me right off the top of my head who those people will be. I don't know, you know. I think they've damaged Bobby Roode. You know, they did such a magnificent job to build him up as a strong babyface into this title thing, and then to turn him heel was just pure waste. I know some people say, well, he's more comfortable as he. It doesn't matter. I mean, the point is you had the people in the palm of his hand, and
they left money on the table.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I don't want to interfere, but what you had said earlier on about when you were talking about you know, going back and forth, two guys who know each other. You had two guys that the people really cared about. You had something that two guys who weren't damaged goods at that point that you could continued on for a while, and then they went in the direction that they did. You know, there was, to me, a perfect example of you could have had them going rocking back and forth. There was no need to turn anybody heel for quite some time until the fans dictated it or until it was time. But, boy, they lost a lot of money to me. And I'm sorry for interrupting, but I think that was perfect for what you had said earlier.
Yeah, no, you're right. There was no reason. It's just like I'm interested to see what Jimmy does with Richards and Eddie, you know, in the final battle in New York for Ring of Honor, because you know Davey's kind of taken exception because Eddie's training with Severin, and although with Davey's background, I see the value, you know, but I'm just hoping they're not going to turn one of these guys because there's no reason. I mean, there's reason to, you know, it's you have heat between brothers, but doesn't necessarily mean somebody's got to be a heel. You know, I think there's a competitive things within blood. You know, I mean, families. I'm an only child, so, but I've seen it with, you know, with friends who have brothers, and There's a competitive thing there, but it doesn't have to be heel. But then again, it's a whole package, and I think with TNA, it's the rebuilding. You've got to move a lot of people out of there, and I don't know who you replace. I mean, you've got to bring in some fresh faces and build. You can't be in a rush. They killed Joe and Angle. They killed Nigel and Angle with the big rush job. AJ has matured as a performer, but he's been heel babyface, dumb hillbilly, the new Playboy version of Ric Flair. He's been so many things, and as I've said here before, or any place else I've talked about this, each time you switch somebody like that, you chip away at their value to you in terms of buy rates or even house shows. So, that's a tough job. I mean, and I would say you're looking at, to make a dent, Rich, you're looking at 18 months or better to see any benefit. And you can't be sure you're doing it. I mean, it's trial and error. There's no geniuses. It's throwing enough against the wall to see what's going to stick. But you've got to set a path, and you've got to go in that path. And one person has got to make the final call, and that's the problem down there. That's a political minefield, for Christ's sake. I don't give a damn if Garrett has caught the fire or whatever the hell Hogan said in his tweet. He's still Bischoff's kid. He can't slap his ass with both hands. He's not a wrestler, and he's got no business being on top. If he were my kid, I'd say the same thing. I mean, it's just it hurts the locker room, and with any fans who actually follow the sport, you've struck a negative to begin with. So I don't know the answer. I mean, God, I wish I could give you the answer. If she called and offered me a huge amount of money, I need the money. I'd have to take it. The first thing I'd probably do is build me a house into a cave on a mountain somewhere so I could go hide there after I'd failed. Miserably. Seriously, I think the brand is so tarnished and has got such a negativity to it. I'm not sure, what can be done, or if anything, at this point in time, really.
Well, they do have one thing, as bizarre as this is going to sound, going for them, if you wanted to do that, because they always seem to get the same fan base, no matter what tuning in. It's always that one rating, or around 1.1, 1.2, whatever it is. It always hovers around there. And it's been noted that their house show business has dropped off, their merchandise has dropped off, things like that. They seem to be very comfortable. I mean, Bellator is not coming till 2013, and it doesn't look like it's really going to impact TNA whatsoever. TNA is still going to be, working there. Obviously, there will be more emphasis on Bellator, but they're in a position where, realistically, because of the network they're on, and because they have a base that doesn't seem to go anywhere no matter what, you could actually do that and actually be able to see legitimate results. But how do you sell that? If it's you, how do you sell that to a network? Because obviously the Crockett's knew the Scotts and knew, and obviously it's still a hell of a leap of faith to put your business in somebody's hands who says, look, I got to grind this thing down to the nubs before it grows back up again. But how would you sell that to the network when you're up there going, if they even ask that sort of question, how do you sell them on, look, do you want to talk? Because they're, I guess the first thing they would say is, well, we like that one. We're consistent with that one. It's one of the best things on our network. You want to change this? I mean, how do you respond to something?
You try to make them understand that if you want to stand out, then you can't be a bad copy of everybody else. And if there's a chance to bring their ratings up, to bring your buy rates up, et cetera, then you've got to try to be different. It's like I said here a couple of weeks ago. It's not that I'm adverse to the Young Bucks and the Bravado brothers being on a house show for ROH. As if I were, calling the shots, I wouldn't put them on the TV, because if I'm advertising change or different, they aren't. And what TNA is, or Impact, or whatever the hell you want to call it, is putting out there isn't to a great degree either. you'll see, well, again, it's, if you stop and look back over this year, the Punk thing in WWE and the Bobby Roode thing, both had different endings, and both, but they both, gave everybody so much hope, and then that was dashed on the rocks, for Christ's sake. But I think, and you've got, I think the network's also got to, if we're partners in this network, then you got to realize we want you to have ratings. We want to improve your ratings. We don't want to, we're not anxious to damage this relationship. But on the same hand, we have to sell merchandise, and we have to try to bring our buy rate up on our pay-per-views, which we are not able to do by just giving everything, the store away every week on television. And you've got to hope that somebody there is going to make, going to understand that. And unless the network, hell, we can, do nude wrestling if you guys are paying enough for it, right? But we can't sell that in major coliseums anywhere. That's the whole problem with that.
Speaking of which, Thursday night on Impact, knockouts in bikinis washing cars.
Stop it! Oh God!
Oh yeah.
It's
well,
amazing.
how about I thought
women,
that whole Karen Jarrett thing is, listen, see, and that's the thing too. The evil promoter, the evil general manager, the evil whatever, she, whatever, she's the head of the Knockouts, so she's the evil. It has been done to friggin' death, and she is so obnoxious with it. It's like, why are you people working here? I mean, why? And then the goofy thing they did with that thing on, I tried to dress you up and cover you up, but they don't want that, so now I want you all to put on your best lingerie. Well, I happen to carry mine in my wrestling bag all the time, and
Get your lingerie?
Yeah, of course. And then Tessmacher, who was in the Hooters beauty contest, and how many of these girls straddle that middle rope and make love to it before they get in the ring anyway, all of a sudden they're offended that you would want me to show my body? Wait a minute, you just showed it last week and the week before and the week before that, but I can't do it now. It's just, there's part of the problem. It's just, it's like a knee-jerk reaction of the people writing this stuff or making these decisions is like, I was talking elsewhere, back in the territory days, Thanksgiving, like Christmas, was a big business day for us. Big business. Now it's which goofy character is going to wear the stupid turkey suit, for Christ's sake. I mean,